Welcome to It's Not That Bad, optimistic movie reviews for optimistic people.
It sounded like you were presenting the news or something. This is your breakdown at 6.
Yes, hi, my name is Chad Ekowitz.
And I'm Simone LaRue. And we're going to be talking about movies that didn't do great and going to tell you why maybe they should have done a little better.
I like how your voice went high pitch there. So, I mean, what film are you doing today?
I'm going to be doing the classic of my childhood, Wild Wild West.
So good. So good.
I'm so excited.
So excited for this film. It's so bad and so good.
And what are you going to be doing?
I am doing the greatest film ever made, obviously. I am going to be doing Shrek Forever After.
Which is the 4th Shrek movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I mean, that depends on how you're going to look at it, because you have Shrek 1, 2, and 3, and then 4. So numerically speaking, you are correct. Mm-hmm. However, you've also got the Halloween special, the Donkeys Shrektacular. You've also got the Christmas specials. You've got the Puss in Boot franchise spin-off. So this film is not technically the 4th film in the thing, but numerically, yes. But good lord.
For all of our listeners at home, as Chad was describing to me just how many Shrek spin-offs there have been, my eyes were closed because I had to just stop and process.
In anger.
I don't know if it was anger or just like deep shame in where we are as a race, a human race.
It doesn't make sense why there would be so many films. I mean, yeah, they are really good, and number 1 and number 2 were fantastic films.
Oh, yeah.
But that doesn't mean we need all of these films. But that being said, I actually did enjoy watching this film again.
I had fun.
Yeah, but we'll get into it. So let's do our first segment. Simone, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a nice red wine that my parents... we had leftover from dinner last night.
Ooh.
It's a De Cliff Cellar wine, a 2017 Merlot.
Ooh, lovely.
Yeah, it's quite nice. I'm very fond of Merlot, as you well know. And it's 14%.
Nice. That's quite a strong red.
Yes, it is. So I will sip it slowly. And what are you drinking?
I am drinking a beer today. So I'm drinking the Gold Hobgoblin.
Oh.
And it's gilt-edged. I don't know what that means. But it's a lovely little beer. It's quite refreshing and sort of deep and a little bit cinnamony. I love beer. And this is a really nice one. So yeah, and I mean, Hobgoblin, you can't really get it in South Africa. It's a very English beer.
Yeah.
But it is really good, and they've got like different ones, so you get different flavors and different sort of versions, so like a lager and a stout and whatever. And this is only 4.5%. So I do believe that you win this week.
Yay.
That's
great, because as I sip this wine, I feel like, first of all, I'm really nervous about doing the plot synopsis for Wild Wild West, because there is just so much.
Yeah, it is quite deep and complex, really, which is strange.
So I'm gonna I'm not gonna go into every little nook and cranny in the plot, because you can't. We'll be here all day. And also, God, it's just... It's, wow.
That is how you can describe it, really. It's...
Like, when you really read a plot breakdown and you, like, really look at it, you're just like, oh my god, I watched this entire movie.
But it's so celebrated as well, which I don't understand. Like, people are like, oh yeah, do you remember that?
I was looking at the user reviews on IMDb, and it either gets a 1 out of 10, or a 10 out of 10. Like, there is no middle ground. Like, people either fucking hate this movie, or they love it.
So it's very Marmite. That's crazy. I wouldn't have expected people to, I thought it would just, sort of get an average rating. But, yeah, because you get people who are like, oh, yeah. And, I mean, it's notorious for that. in the fact that people are just like, yeah, I liked it, or no, I didn't like it. So, yeah, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it.
I'm excited to hear yours.
I mean, it should be pretty obvious by this point, but in no way do we sympathise with the South. In no way do we condone the use of the word, the N-word by any white people, even in its sort of historical, the way they say it in this film.
You know, at least the bad guy was the racist, so I'm okay with that. Good start.
Yeah, but even the good guy said the N-word, and I was like, ooh.
Really?
Ooh, don't say that.
Will Smith? Because Will Smith is allowed to say it.
No, obviously Will Smith's allowed to say it. The good guy says it. What? Will? No.
Can you imagine if anyone said it, you were just like, sorry.
Yeah, that's not your word, Will. No, what's his face? His buddy cop counterpart.
Oh. Does he say
it? He says it when they're chatting in the canyon and they're around the campfire, and he goes, "Oh, and I suppose your parents were both," and then he says the N-word.
Oh, but doesn't he say?
Yeah, he does, but that's what I'm saying. Like, even
which was sort of the politically, I don't know. I guess that was the politically correct term at the time.
Yeah, and I mean we don't condone that, and I don't know. It just feels wrong to me to hear anyone say it, especially on TV.
Look, there were a lot of issues with the jokes and terminology in this movie. Let's get into this plot.
Yes, please. We've done our sort of duty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna do my best. I've got a bunch of windows open, so I can try to keep track of where I'm going and who I'm talking about. Okay. So, this movie takes place in the Old West. It follows Detective James West. Is he a detective? No. Captain? God, I'm off to an amazing start.
I believe he's a...
Army captain. There we go. He's a captain. Mm-hmm.
Army captain. Okay. I would have called him like a chief constable or something like that.
Care.
But, yeah.
So, this movie stars Will Smith as Captain James West and Kevin Kline as Artemis Gordon, U.S. Marshal. And Kevin Kline also plays President Ulysses S. Grant.
Oh, really? Does he double up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Because I thought they were two separate actors, but that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So, these two unlikely partners are forced to team up by said president in order to take down or solve a mystery or fuck it. God damn. There's so much to this. Yes, okay. Here we go.
To solve a mystery or something. A mystery
or take down a bad guy. But it's not like a mystery because you figure out very quickly who's doing it. So, prominent scientists are disappearing and showing up dead at a very alarming rate. They are asked by the president to solve this problem. Eventually, they trace it back to Dr. Arliss Lovelace, which is such a good villain name.
Yeah.
Played by Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
I think is how you'd say it.
Yeah, I think that's right.
They also team up with the daughter of one of the kidnapped scientists, Rita Escobar, played by Salma Hayek.
Fantastic.
And embark on an adventure across the Old West. There's a giant mechanical spider. There are lots of steampunky trains. There's some drag. There's some belly dancing. And it all ends up that Dr. Arliss Lovelace has been kidnapping scientists in order to help him build weapons of mass destruction, such as the giant mechanical spider, in order to force the president to surrender to the United States so that Dr. Arliss Lovelace can bring back the glory of the South and restore some of the American colonies to a couple of other countries. Like, England will get a slice back, France will get a slice back, but mainly, like, the South just gets to keep being racist and owning slaves.
So what you're saying is he's trying to make America great again.
Let's not get too political with this. We've got a lot to get through, Chad.
It's a Trump episode, everyone. Let's get into it.
Our heroes manage to defeat Dr. Lovelace, save the president, save the girl, save the day, while beating up a couple of other female henchmen, which, like, we're cool with. And all is well in the world, and they ride off on their giant mechanical spider to go fight more crimes together. I can't get into it. I can't get into the metal collars that they have that are giant magnets and attract spinning blades towards them from a distance.
Now, first of all, well done. That was a very hard plot synopsis to sort of cover.
Like, I'm sorry guys, that was not my best plot synopsis, but I
think you did really well. I would encourage to people to try and be so sort of concise with their plot synopsis of this film. It's not easy.
Also, I feel like the producers didn't care about the plot, so why should we?
That's true. You know, it was kind of everywhere. But let's go back to the colours, because you've mentioned them now. Now, I'm not a physicist. I did high school physics, but I'm pretty sure, now correct me if I'm wrong, of course, that's not how magnets fucking work.
So there are a couple of elements to it that confuse me. First of all, if it's such a powerful magnet, and we know that the metal in their shoes is attracted to it, and the metal in their belts is attracted to it, due to a very comedic physical comedy scene later on. So why, if these magnets are so fucking strong, their belts should be shooting up. They're, like, it should literally be tearing their clothes apart.
Yeah, for reals. For me, it's the fact that it can follow them around. It's really confusing that the magnet is so strong that it can, that the blade can spin, first of all, and change direction, second of all, and third, keep that sort of level of elevation. That's how strong that magnet is, that it can keep up off the ground and not lose momentum.
And, yeah, the momentum is what really puzzles me. Look, if we're gonna start getting into the science of this movie, we will be here all day, because let us not forget that they get their first clue by using a man's head as a projector, because apparently when you die, the last thing you see is burned onto your retinas. Let's just say, like, this is where we're starting.
Love that science, and people used to believe that. It's fantastic. If you read the research into it, it's beautiful. Not the fact that they used a man's head as a projector, because that in itself is just superb. But no, like, there was actual science behind the fact that the image was burnt into your eyes. I can't remember what it was called now, what that branch of science was, but it was amazing. I thought you were going to be referring to the giant mechanical spiders as the scientific and physics question here.
So, this is where I actually like the movie, because you can actually call it a steampunk movie.
Okay.
It meets most of the requirements, where you've got something that's happening in the past, but you have technology that is ahead of its time, and it doesn't use electricity or any of the fancy stuff we have now. It uses things like rocket propulsion and hydraulics and things like that, and it's really cool. Like, I think that was probably my first introduction to steampunk, even though I didn't know what it was at the time. And I still very much enjoy that genre. So I just thought, like, you know what, they can take creative license with this. You have to. True. For these kinds of movies. And that was an element of it that I enjoyed.
Yeah. I mean, it was ridiculous from start to finish, but it was fantastic. I think it starts off really well. Like, the first half an hour to 45 is really good in terms of sort of the plot makes sense and everything seems a bit realistic and cohesive. Like, the fact that there's that Lovelace is sort of making a tank seems pretty cool. Like, that's like, oh, okay, so this is where we're at. That's cool. And then there's the giant mechanical spider and the flying blades of death, and it just kind of spirals out of control very quickly. Yeah. I really enjoyed Will Smith in drag. I thought
he's pretty.
He is a beautiful, beautiful lady / man. I really enjoyed that scene. If it was him, in fact, under the veil, because he genuinely looked feminine. It was fantastic.
Yeah, kudos to the makeup and costume team on that. In fact, I would argue that all of the makeup and costumes in this movie were really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, it was thought out super well. It was, like, visually, just, like, this whole movie visually was really fun to watch. Like, really cool to, like, look at. Overall, it's actually a really fun film to watch. Like, you shouldn't think about it too much.
No, I think that's the problem is as soon as you start thinking about it and how ridiculous it is, it loses its appeal. I mean, it's another fantastic Will Smith buddy cop film. He's got so many of them. And, you know, this one, to me, personally, was less realistic than Bright.
Wow.
Like, I felt that strongly about it, that, you know, in terms of plausibility. But, yeah, I still really enjoyed it. I thought the jokes were really good. I know there are problematic jokes, and I definitely want to hear your opinion on that. But I thought it was a funny film. I thought, you know, it is a good romp. It's just hilarious from start to finish. Like, it's just, and, you know, the good guys win. It's sort of a nice comedic take on a Wild West film. Yeah. Because the good guys win, they sort of rough and ready in their partners, and they go off and fight more crime or solve more mysteries or do something together at the end into the sunset. So, which jokes for you were particularly problematic?
So there was quite a lot of sexism.
What?
But, you know, if you're gonna watch a movie from the 90s and talk about sexism, like, it's really low-hanging fruit, to be honest. I have a question, though, which doesn't have anything to do with that, but, like, so Loveless has all of these, like, female bodyguard henchmen, and they're, like, super beautiful and also, like, super evil, and I want to know where he found them. Like, where did he find a bunch of really beautiful, ethnically diverse women who were, like, super on board with his plan and, like, dressing up in those very uncomfortable-looking dresses and just, like, following him around and helping him be evil? Like, I just want to know how that happened.
It's a good point, because, I mean, you see Selma Hayek, like, fighting against it, because the other girls are like, oh, we want to be here, you know, you can join us, and she's like, no, I don't want to be Loveless's puppet.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, okay, so they're there voluntarily, that's cool. But you're 100% right, and I didn't even think of that. Because, one of them feels remotely German, and another one feels remotely Russian. I mean, did he put ads out? How...
Were there auditions?
That would be cool.
How's your lip reading? What? Next. But I will say, Loveless made a great villain.
He's awesome. Do you know, it's really funny as well, because he kind of reminded me of Ewan McGregor. He kind of gave me vibes of Ewan McGregor, I'm not gonna lie.
How?
That's what like, his face, it was just sort of Ewan McGregor-y.
If you say so.
That's how I felt, but clearly I'm alone in this. But yeah, he is a great villain, and he plays it so nicely, and, like, the voice and everything really fits so well into it.
Yeah. It was really... I think overall they had a really good casting for the movie. So, yeah. Where do you think it went wrong?
I don't know. I mean, I think it went wrong when the plot became super unrealistic. Like, I loved... What's his name? The partner's inventions. I thought they were really good.
Oh,
they were,
Artemis?
Like, Artemis's inventions. I thought they were, like, super good and super sort of quirky and fun and whatever. But then, you know, and I thought the tank was a really nice idea, as I've mentioned. And I think that if they had just kept up with that and done other weapons of mass destruction, like bigger tanks or something like that, cool, we're gold. That's great. Even the wheelchair that he's in sort of hints at realistic sort of future technology, steampunk things. You know, it's a mobile wheelchair, it's a mobility wheelchair, but it's run by steam, which is fantastic. And then it just sort of devolves into spider monsters, and the wheelchair turns into a 8-legged thing that can just, like, take you out.
And then there's, like, the henchman that's made out of steel.
Yeah, I mean, that guy, he did... why? So it just evolved.
Do you want to hear a funny fact about those, like, people that Will Smith battles on the mechanical spider?
Yes.
So they actually added that in after showing the movie to a test audience, because at first they just fought the female henchman.
Oh.
And the audience was like, well, this isn't really fair. Like, They just beat up these women and then go after Loveless. So they had to put in a couple of, like, actually scary male henchmen so that, like, it looked a bit more fair.
That would have been great if they just beat, like, the easiest victory in the world. Just punching women and then taking out a cripple. Because essentially that is what this film is.
Mm.
But yeah, so I think devolving into the more ridiculous was sort of the downfall of this film. Where do you think it went wrong?
So just, like, based on, like, the reading that I did around the movie, I think it was one of those things where, like, much like Suicide Squad, they got in a good director, they got in good writers, they got in good actors, and then instead of just leaving all those people to do their jobs well, the studio just jumped on it, did a bunch of rewrites, was like, no, we need to make this funnier, it needs to be, like, more action and more, like, of all of this. And what happened, like, basically the original two writers said they didn't even recognize their script after the studio got a hold of it. To the point where they actually, like, tried their hardest to get their names disassociated from the movie.
Wow.
And to the point where they refused to work with a major Hollywood studio ever again because they were so upset by the whole experience.
Wow, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So, like, I don't know if you know this, but this movie was based off of a popular series in the 60s called Wild Wild West.
I did not.
Yeah. Where it's these two, like, a U.S. Army and U.S. Marshal, like, going around in the West, like, doing buddy cop stuff.
Yeah.
And they tried to get, like, the old actors and stuff in to do cameos, and they all refuse.
Right. Oh, wow, just because of how...
Like, so that's how far all of this strayed from the source material. That's how unhappy everybody was with the script.
Wow. That's crazy. And yet people still go on about this film.
Yeah, it was just, like, the studio crapping out money and trying to, like, fix it to make it more palatable, and that just made it really boring.
It's strange why this has sort of become a household name when it is really so unremarkable in every single way.
Yeah.
I think I'd never seen this film before we did it for this podcast. Like, this was my first time watching this film. So I was really excited to get into it because it's always been on my list to watch, but I've never really sort of gone around to it.
Yeah.
And I think even after watching it, I'm like, what's all the fuss about? I mean, I think the only sort of good thing that came out of it was the Will Smith theme song, which...
God.
That was the best thing. I think he should keep doing that. I don't know why he stopped doing that. I would have loved to see the sad rap from I Am Legend.
God, imagine. There's just a whole paragraph about the dog.
Yeah. It's 90%
paragraph, verse.
You know music. You're so good into rap. You're down with the kids.
You can tell I'm not really a musical person, I think, by now.
That's such a shame. I'm quite sad about that fact, that it was just a bit of a shit show with that.
Yeah.
I would like to see what the movie could have been then. Like, what the original script was.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently it was a little bit, like, darker and more, like, focused on mystery and action, and then the studio, much like Suicide Squad, changed it to be funnier, and add in more comedic moments and all of that stuff. Do you want to hear another fun, sad fact about this movie?
Yes, I love these facts today. Yeah, go do them all.
So Will Smith actually turned down playing the lead role in The Matrix in order to be in this movie. Imagine turning down The Matrix for this movie. Like, I'm glad he did, because I think Keanu Reeves was perfect.
Yeah, I don't think Smith would have done very well in that, but even so, like, regardless, take that out of the equation. Why? Like, what a terrible idea.
Every single actor in that movie was upset that they were in it.
Yeah, and what? How could you... Pardon me. How could you turn down The Matrix for this film? How do you look at both scripts and go, nah, that's the one?
I don't know. Maybe they were like, well, you can write a rap for this one, so...
That was the clincher. Which one can I write a rap for?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is a sad fact. God. That's depressing.
Isn't it? So what was your scene that could have saved it?
My scene that could have saved it. I've been thinking about this really hard because it's such a magical tapestry, is this film, of brilliant moments. And I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think I would have liked to have Lovelace to be more crazy. Like, he was just very calm in what he was doing, and very chill about everything. And I think a little bit more menace and freakiness and sort of, you know, calculating would have been good. So, like, him just working with the scientist, like a scene with him working with the scientist and going through everything or whatever like that. What scene could have saved it for you, dear friend?
So I was thinking about this, right? And obviously one of your main questions, because they do address the fact that Jim West is black, but it's brought up very superficially. In that, like, he has, like, kind of, like, a bit of a sass off with Loveless about his skin color, and it clearly doesn't bother him that much. And then also in his tragic backstory, like, he was sold off to a different plantation than his parents, and then when he found his parents again, they'd been massacred, like...
Yeah.
That's all explained in his backstory. But, like, I feel like it doesn't reflect in the character very much at all. Like...
Right.
The only way it really reflects is that he hates racists, which, like,
I mean,
yeah.
We all should, yeah.
And I think it would have been interesting to sort of get more insight into this guy who, like, clearly went from being a slave to suddenly being one of the president's most trusted people in the U.S. Army. In a society where, like, even if you're extremely progressive, you still have very stereotypical views about black people.
Yeah.
So, like...
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
It's just, like, how did he navigate that? Like, how did that affect him? Like, how does that affect his career now? Because it doesn't really seem to affect his career much.
No.
And, I don't know, it's just, I guess it's a comedy, so you don't want to have, like, a character with, like, hectic PTSD, and, like, a bunch of hang-ups and stuff. I realize that it's not fun, but I think it would have made for, like, the much needed interesting dialogue that this needed.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it would have been kind of, like, cool, because we know Will Smith can play characters with more depth.
Yeah. Clearly.
Yeah, it just, I don't know, it would have been interesting to see sort of that aspect of the character. Like, if you're gonna play off the fact that he's black for, like, laughs and oh my god, there's a lynching scene.
Yeah. That was uncomfortable to watch.
Again, I understand that it's a comedy, but I don't understand how you can have a black character in the South who has gone through what Will Smith what, like, Jim West's character went through, and be so calm and so funny in front of a lynch mob. Like, it just doesn't, like, make any fucking sense for the character. They should have never had that scene in the movie. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And
like, it is
so insensitive. Oh my god.
Yeah, a lot of this film, I think, is and like you said at the beginning, you know, you can't judge 90s movies by our standards of today and how we see things. But even so, like, you know, slavery ended 200 years ago. You kind of should have a general vibe of how black people feel about slavery, especially when you have a black person in the cast.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's a case of being, you know, sort of minorly conscientious of the people who are in your thing. And to play it off for laughs and trivialize it.
Especially if I compare it to Dear White People, where they had that scene where Reggie almost gets shot by the security guard. And just, like, he's a very, like, also just, like, a really relaxed character, just someone who's, like, a bit tragically in love with the wrong girl, and all this, but, like, when that happens, it's suddenly, like, so real, and you can really see, like, how that history of police violence has affected him, and how it affects everybody else in the room. And that doesn't make him less of an interesting character, or less of a funny character later on, but it really contributes to the whole, I guess, overarching theme, and just, like, it's a really good scene. And it would have been interesting if maybe Jim West, when faced with the lynch mob, had a similar reaction. I know it's a comedy, so it wouldn't have been as, like, whatever, but, like, that's the reality. You
know, some of the best comedies have sad bits in them, and that's the point.
Exactly.
And, you know, it's creating more realistic characters.
Yeah.
It's not just about, you know, one-dimensional characters. Yeah. No one wants one-dimensional characters.
And especially the fact that it's fucking Artemis Gordon who does the hang him thing.
Yeah, for real.
So it's Artemis Gordon who sets a lynch mob on him, and, like, Will Smith's character doesn't know that the rope isn't a real rope.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, like, he should be fucking bleak with him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it is harsh. Like, yeah, I agree with you. So, yes, more three-dimensional characters needed. It's lazy writing, and we need to stop lazy writing. There's nothing worse.
Yeah.
So, tell me, bad director or bad film?
I'm gonna go with bad film. The director is Barry Sonnenfeld. And he's directed... So, most recently, you actually saw his work in the Netflix series, A Series of Unfortunate Events.
Oh!
Which is really good.
Yeah, it is superb.
It's a wonderful series. I actually keep meaning to get back into it, because I love the books, and I really love Neil Patrick Harris in this.
Yeah. I think I stopped after the second book kind of thing. You know, I stopped watching. Yeah. But yeah, they were so good, and Neil Patrick Harris is so
really
good, and the kids are amazing.
The only thing is, it's such a bummer. So like, you watch a couple episodes, and then you need to just go be sad for a bit.
Yeah, I mean the books were so well written as well. Like Lemony Snicket did a superb job with the books and how
so good.
Yeah, and I think the guy who plays Lemony Snicket in the show is so funny, and I think it's a really interesting take as well because of how unreceptive people were to the film in comparison to how receptive people are of the series, and that surprises me because I think Jim Carrey was a really great Count Olaf. Neil Patrick Harris takes it and even a step further and makes it even better. But there was absolutely nothing wrong with Count Olaf, but there was just so many little aspects of that film that just didn't sort of fit together well.
I mean, that's what happens when you try to rush through 3 books. You know,
exactly.
I think it was always going to be better as a series, and Neil Patrick Harris has like the theatricality for it. It's just not that Jim Carrey can't, but I mean Neil Patrick Harris though.
Yeah, exactly, and it does work better as a series because there are 13 books. Sorry, there are 13 books. And if you were going to do it as a film, so that's 3 books per film, so you're going to rush them, and it gets a lot more complicated and a lot more dense later on in the series as well. Really... And so to squeeze those, it would be, 4 films, and that's just crazy town. Rather do it as a series.
But we're on a
oh god, I didn't even...
Not another tangent.
A tangent.
You guys, if you knew how many tangents we edited out of these episodes...
Yeah, you complain, well, you don't complain, but you criticize, you give constructive feedback that we go off on tangents a lot. Sweet baby children... You don't know. This is the problem.
You guys get 1 hour and 15 minutes of content, and we easily record for like 3 hours at a go.
Yeah, so just, if we ever do live shows, which, there are incentives for that to happen, #pink jumpsuits, they are going to be long shows, so settle down, bring a cushion. Yeah. Because you don't know, sweet baby child.
Get an extra big drink. Yeah. Not too big.
You'll have to go pee, and we will ridicule you if you stand up in the middle of what we're doing.
We'll get the whole crowd to do it. So other stuff that this guy has directed, if we're looking at 90s movies, he did Addams Family and Addams Family Values, which, love it. He did Men in Black.
Oh!
Yeah, and Men in Black 2. So, he's not a bad director. I think just, God, the studio just got on board with this and wouldn't let it go, and it's such a shame, but it happens. And if producers could just stop doing that, that would be cool.
Yeah, and I think, obviously we do see it a lot still with Suicide Squad and things like that, but I think the change in sort of, or the hopeful change in sort of how Hollywood and films are being produced now, there's more voices and a more diverse set of voices in the room now. I think that's going to happen a lot less.
I think also now we have audiences that know when they're being pandered to and won't accept it anymore.
Yeah, which is nice. Which is why I hope we'll never see another Transformers film.
And yet Bumblebee is coming out soon.
What the fuck?
I couldn't tell you. Dude, I don't know.
Whatever. But well done. That was a really hard movie to do. And I'm very impressed that you did it. And you did a really good job with it.
Thank you. Let's get into Shrek.
Forever After. Oh, I love this film. I fucking adore this film.
I had a lot of fun watching this movie, to be perfectly honest.
It's just delightful overall. But yeah, let's get into the plot synopsis. So this is going to be a fun one because I've been blissfully unprepared for this podcast this week, and so I've written half a plot synopsis. So the first bit is going to be, sort of written out, and then you should probably notice when I start to do a bit of improv, because it's just gonna fall to shit. So get prepared for sort of a mashup here. So imagine a world where Shrek, Shrek 2, and Shrek the Third didn't happen. Well, that's what Rumpelstiltskin wants in this, the fourth film in the big green giant film franchise. Before the babies, and before Justin Timberlake, and before we meet the king of Far, Far Away, the frog king of Far, Far Away, and even before we meet Shrek, Fiona's parents went to make a deal with the evil and crooked Rumpelstiltskin, voiced by Walt Dawn. In exchange for fixing Fiona's curse, the royal family would sign over the kingdom of Far, Far Away to Rumpel. Unfortunately, just before they could sign the contract, Fiona was rescued by Shrek. Rumpel falls on hard times, no one wants his deals anymore, and he is generally considered a loser and a crook by the world. Him and his witch friends are excluded from society and left to rot. In the meantime, Far, Far Away sort of continues, and Shrek and Fiona get married, and they have a lovely time in Shrek 2 and Shrek 3, which I kind of remember the plot of. I don't 100% remember the plot of. I just know Justin Timberlake's in it. So they're all happy and everything, but they've now settled down in their farm, swamp thing, and Shrek is getting a little bit annoyed because every day is, the same basically. It's wake up, feed the babies, have, dinner with the friends, and then go back to sleep. And he's getting really tired of the repetition and the fact that he doesn't get to be the free ogre that he once was. He has a freak out at the party of his children, their first birthday, and smashes the cake. Because a kid asks him to do the raw.
That was my favorite part of the whole fucking movie.
I love you, Daddy.
I had to pause because I was laughing so hard.
It is such a good bit.
It's just...
Do the raw.
Thinking about it now, I'm just... Something's just touched my brain the right way, and
I do like how you reacted to that. That's great. So, where was I? Yeah, so Shrek destroys his children's, but I got completely lost because of that.
I'm still giggling, thinking about it. So you just carry on. We'll cut it out.
This is you for the rest of the day. So Shrek destroys his children's birthday cake, and he storms off. Fiona chases after him and is like, what the fuck? And he's just like, oh, I'm sick of my life. I am so tired of not being able to be a free agent and doing what I want. And Fiona's like, well, you basically saying that you didn't want me and the kids, so that's pretty fucked up. Yeah. And so good old Shrek leaves, and somehow, I believe Rumpelstiltskin has heard this whole conversation. He somehow corners Shrek and says to him, oh, what we'll do is we'll get you to sign a contract so you can have a full 24 hours to just do whatever you want. You're a free agent, as if, you were never married. And in exchange, I'll take a day, any day, even a day from your childhood. And Rumpelstiltskin, lo and behold, takes the day that Shrek was born away from Shrek. So Shrek was never born, and therefore could never rescue Fiona, and so the king and queen of Far, Far Away would sign over the kingdom to Rumpelstiltskin. And so this happens, Shrek signs the contract, and hey presto, it was never born, but he's got these 24 hours to live. So he finds this out, and he's essentially got 24 hours to rectify the situation, or he dies, and he will be taken out of existence, and Rumpelstiltskin will continue to essentially rule Far, Far Away, which has also fallen into disrepute. So he finds some he finds some ogres, and he joins their band of resistance because Rumpelstiltskin now wants to kill all the ogres. And he joins the resistance and finds out that Fiona is in charge. Now, to break the curse, he needs to have true love's kiss, which obviously for him is Fiona. And so he spends the majority of the movie trying to convince Fiona to fall in love with him. And it's really cute, and there's some really nice moments of fighting and dancing and laughs and whatever. But Fiona doesn't love him yet. movie continues, blah, 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 and we get to the end, and it turns out that Fiona has now fallen in love with him, they kiss, and everything's back to normal, and, Rumpelstiltskin just sort of falls to the wayside, and Shrek learns the valuable lesson that, appreciate what you've got, you weirdo. Like, don't be a dick about it. And, that's the film. So, tell me your thoughts, Simone.
Boy. I think that this is a fun movie. At its core, at its surface, it is for children, everyone. So, it's fun. It's also, I always love a nice alternate reality kind of plot where it's like, well, what would have happened without this one chain of events? And I liked that they explore the fact that fucking without Shrek, Fiona just gets her damn self out of the tower. I don't know what happened to Prince Charming in this scenario, because apparently we're just going to ignore the whole plot of Shrek 2, whatever. But I just like that she was like, you know what? Fuck this noise. And she went off and she started an ogre rebellion, and I'm really chuffed with that. That
is very cool. I didn't even realize that, essentially they're denying the plot of Shrek 2 there. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose, in theory, Prince Charming could have gotten there by the time Fiona got herself out, but it's implied that she spends a much longer amount of time in the castle because of Shrek not having been there. So, you know what? Let's just ignore the fact that Prince Charming exists.
Yeah, and I mean, it completely just devolves the whole plot of Shrek 2 as well, Shrek 1 as well, because if Shrek hadn't have gone, someone else would have gone on behalf of Lord Farquaad.
Yeah.
And perchance would have rescued Fiona, and if not, someone else would have tried, and someone else would have tried. So it is a very sort of, this is why I hate time travel films, is because there are so many sort of plot holes and gaps that are just a nightmare to navigate. But yes, that's a thing for another time, I think. I really loved Rumpelstiltskin in this film.
Great.
I thought he was so funny.
Just such a good villain. I like that he has all his wigs for when he's like angry and being serious. That's amazing. That's the most. I wish I had wigs for every occasion. Like some sort of Kardashian.
Like some sort of Kardashian. That's one of those Kardashians. But I think this film gets a bad rep because it's the fourth one in the thing. I mean, Shrek 1 was really good, and everyone loved it, and it is a great film. It is super cute, it's super funny, it's got some really nice messages, and then, 2 is funny as well, and then it just sort of devolves into nothingness. And as a standalone film, if you watch this without having seen any of the other Shrek films for a really long time, I feel this one sort of really works by itself. It's a cohesive plot, it follows through, it's got its funny moments. It's not the funniest film, but then again, a lot of Shrek 1 relied on references from other films.
Yes.
This is funny in its own right. This has just got jokes in its own right, and I think that's magical about itself.
Yeah, that's true. I also, if you don't mind getting up on a soapbox for a second here with me. If you're not happy with your life, or if you're just irritated with some aspect of your life, you can take a day. I mean, I'm sure fucking Fiona was also tired of looking after 3 babies all the time, and she managed not to have a fucking meltdown. But, you can talk to your significant other or something and be like, listen, I just need a day. I just need some time to be by myself, and I'll give you some time to be by yourself as well at another point. There's nothing, everybody gets really caught up and needs to get away for a bit. You don't have to make a contract with a dodgy small man that you found on the road.
That definitely sounds like sex work.
just talk to your significant other, maybe, if you're frustrated. That's why they're your significant other.
Yeah, I don't know about, sort of your parents and how you grew up with it, but in my family, there would be days where my mum, I would come through in the morning and I'd be like, oh, where's mum? And my dad would be like, oh, she's just, taking a day for herself. And that's fine. That's a healthy relationship. Yeah. Talk to your spouse. Seriously. Fiona isn't, sort of this horrible person who's just no, you have to be around the kids all the time. She would have just been she seems really cool. She just would have been take a day. It's fine.
And then also give me a fucking day, because I'm the one who gave birth to 3 fucking children.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna.
So how about you just quiet down? Yeah, no, I agree. No, I 100% agree with you, and I think this soapbox is necessary because if you don't do that and you don't communicate, communication is so important. If you don't communicate, the relationship is just gonna devolve into you smashing your baby's cake on their first birthday.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm back at the Do the Roar kid, and we've got full circle.
I like that just any mention of that party scene just puts you back in this place.
It's so good.
How can we give advice to these people when this is the situation?
What do you mean?
How can we give advice to these wonderful people about their relationships when you just devolve into giggles about doo-da-ra?
We're 20 fucking 5. Like, if we are your only relationship advice, you need to talk to someone. We're not married. We don't have kids.
Yeah, that's a good point in the fact that we give advice, do what we say, don't do what we do. Because we haven't done anything. But yeah, that's a good point. I like it. And I think this is the sort of spirit of this podcast. We have no sort of background to talk about these films. And yet we do, with great fervour and authority.
Here we are.
I mean, literally, neither of us did anything really to do with film in terms of our degrees.
We watched a lot of movies in university.
I mean, the two are connected in a sort of way. Proximity is a bit of a stretch, but yeah. But yeah, so, I mean, that is the most problematic thing about the film, is the basis of the plot, is the fact that Shrek is unhappy. The whole film could have been avoided if Shrek was just like, hey, listen, let's chat. I'm unhappy with how things are.
Also, always read a contract before you sign it, you guys. Jesus fucking Christ. Don't let them be like, oh, it's a really straightforward contract. It's just this. No, read it. Sit down. Read it.
Yeah, and how can you trust this guy as well? Like, he seems dodgy as fuck.
Get a lawyer friend like Chad to look at it for you.
Yeah, seriously, if Shrek had come to me with that contract before he signed it, and I would have been like, hey, he's clearly it's written there in letters that are quite obvious that he's going to take your the day you were born. So just give that a check.
Maybe just talk to your wife, dude.
Yeah.
That'll be $800.
Yeah. So Simone, what's your scene that could have saved it?
I think I'm gonna go back to my earlier point, and I don't want to be all like girl power about it, or like, oh, women have it harder, or whatever, but it would have been nice to also see Fiona be like, I'm fucking tired too. Like, literally in an alternate reality, she's a warrior princess. And now she's like a mom and wife to like the grumpiest husband in the whole world. And she doesn't say a fucking word. She's just stoked with life. It would have been interesting, like, I don't know, or balanced more to see her be like, Shrek, I'm fucking tired too. Like, I also need a break. I also want a vacation. Or like, I don't know, maybe even a scene at the end where like he tells her like, hey, I've been feeling a bit frustrated, and like they actually just have a real talk. And she's like, well, I'll give you a day and then you can like do a day for me. And like, good problem resolution. If we're gonna make this movie for kids, we might as well teach them how to solve their problems properly. Instead of being like, well, don't complain about your life because other people have it worse. Like, you can be frustrated with your life sometimes. Just, like, work through it.
Yeah. Life is frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talk to people. I mean, that's why you got married to this person, is because you can tell them whatever you need to tell them.
Hopefully.
I mean, literally, we've had 3 films where basically the plot has been about miscommunication.
Yeah, and it's like you could have just talked to them.
And learning to trust each other. Yeah, like literally. More I think about it, if Fiona had just been like, hey, listen, I turn into an ogre at night in the first film. Shrek would have been like, cool, that's fucking awesome. Great, that sounds great to me. Awesome. In number 2, what was the problem in number 2? Oh, it was the fact that the dad had like issues with the ogre, and just be like, hey, listen, I have issues with you being an ogre because I'm a frog. So, I don't want that for my daughter. And they could have just been, and Shrek could have been like, well, I love her very, very much. And that's the end of it. And then, like, no problems. Dead easy.
We'll just talk to each other and be vulnerable together.
Yeah. 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 I mean, conflict is what drives a film forward, but also, we're at a stage where we don't need to rely on lazy conflict. There are real conflicts that are a lot harder.
Just have it not be stupid.
We have solved bad movies. We can go home. This is the last episode of the podcast. With one sentence, Simone has figured it out.
We are now consulting for scriptwriters. We will charge about $800 an hour.
Yeah, definitely. And each? Our first each, and our first lesson is always just don't make it not stupid.
Just think about it for 3 seconds. Don't be a fucking lazy writer.
Yeah, for realsies. And yes, I get that it's the 4th film in and you're kind of tired, but then just don't make the film. Do something else.
Yeah. So what's your scene that could have saved it?
So, my scene... So, it's technically I'm breaking the rules. But I think that this film would have been better if it was told from Fiona's point of view. So the whole narrative shifts from Shrek onto Fiona in this one would have been great. So you have Shrek, the opening, the same sort of thing where it's sort of like, oh, Shrek is being a dick and doesn't want to live this life and everything, and he signs the contract. And then we go back in time and we see things from Fiona's point of view as the super cool warrior princess, and then she meets Shrek, and Shrek is like, hey, we're actually sort of supposed to be together, and she's like, no. And it's sort of her journey of falling in love with him. Yeah, and then it's her journey of falling in love with him again. I think that would have been a really cool film.
And letting herself be vulnerable again, because nobody did come to save her.
Nobody did come to save her, and I think that was a really nice part of the film as well. The fact, her story in this film is really, really good, and I think it's very unexplored.
Yeah, so, you're right. I agree. Yeah, I think that's just kind of casually thrown in. They're just like, oh, and also she's like a badass rebellion leader, warrior princess, whatever.
Yeah, her whole point is missed, which I think is such a shame because she's got a badass backstory in this. Literally, that's the coolest part of the film is the fact that she's this badass warrior princess. Yeah. And we kind of just gloss over it.
Not like Shrek coming to terms with fucking fatherhood.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just bullshit as well because he's like, oh, I'm just a small, pretty useless ogre and all of you guys are fucking badass.
Yeah.
So that would have been... But I did enjoy seeing fat Puss in Boots. That was amusing, to say the least.
Oh, that was adorable. I loved it.
Fat cats are always funny, though.
They really are.
They're just perfect. They're just perfect beings.
I love chubby cats.
Right, so I'm going to move on to bad director or bad film.
Go for it. Tell me.
And I'm going to say the same as you. This is just a bad film. Because the director this time is Mike Mitchell, who is a great dude. He's done some fantastic looking films. So he's the director for the Lego Movie 2. The second part, which I think is going to be a great film coming through. I mean, we will be the judges of that when it comes out.
Yeah.
SpongeBob, the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, which superb. He did Sky High, which I think is very underrated.
I love Sky High.
Yeah.
We should actually do it sometime.
Sky High is a great film, and I think it is incredibly underrated. People are really mean to Sky High. He also did Juice Bigelow, Male Gigolo. Now, I know it's a problematic film, but if you think about it, it is funny.
I don't think I ever watched it.
It is quite good. It is a good film. But something that stands against him is Alvin and the Chipmunks, Chipwrecked. So, I mean,
look, I haven't watched any of the new Chipmunk movies, so I can't speak to whether they're good or not.
But you can assume...
Look, the chipmunks creep me out.
Do they creep you out?
Yeah, the little 3D, animated ones. Yeah, I used to watch, the 2D chipmunks. I think it was, Alvin and the Chipmunks' Great Adventure or something like that. I used to watch that a bunch as a kid, and I liked it because, it was all, 2D, so it made sense. And, watching it in 3D is just kind of fucking bizarre. live action shit. I don't know.
I like your attitude towards it. That's great.
Any movie with talking animals, though, is a really hard sell for me.
So what about, how did you feel about Chronicles of Narnia then?
Oh, no, like, see, that makes sense in, like, a fantasy context, but if it's, like, modern day life, and then there's also a talking animal.
Yeah, anthropomorphized.
Yeah. So, like, the Chipmunks, the Garfield movies, anything with a dog that talks. Any dog movie ever, actually. I don't like dog movies. Because all dog movies are the same.
You're gonna get, like, a lot of hate on that one. Like, there's gonna be a lot
I'll
of
take
hate
it. I don't
your
care.
way now.
Fight me. Dog movies are awful. If you've seen one, you've seen all of them.
Is this your it's not that good for the week? You're just attacking all dog movies.
All dog movies.
That's it. All dog movies. Oh, man. Okay, fair enough. I've learned something about you today. I'm happy I've learned that about you. So I'm going to finish this segment and this film by reading to you the tagline for Shrek, Forever After.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
It ain't ogre till it's ogre.
I love it. I don't care. I love it. I liked this movie. I enjoyed it. Like, people are so hard on it. It's a kid's movie. Let's all have fun.
It's a good film. I think it's, like I said, it's because of Shrek 1 and 2 being so good, everything else kind of just falls apart because of it. And I think that's unfair, because as a standalone film, it's fantastic. So, yes, and that's Shrek Forever After for you. It ain't ogre till it's ogre.
Well.
So good.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. This week has been an odd one, because, you know, it's just been kind of
fun. Yeah.
Lovely. Like, both of these films are just kind of like
just
you know,
fun movies.
Fun films. So, final segment time. Tell us. Go on. What are we fighting? If we fight today, what are we fighting on?
No, I think you'll agree with me on this.
I am so excited.
It's Not That Good is a classic.
Yeah.
It's Titanic.
Fuck you and fuck you to hell.
Come on.
Ooh,
Come
on. No, I want...
No. It's not that good. Come now. It just did well because they had a massive budget, so it was visually very cool. They had a young Leonardo DiCaprio in it, so he was hot. Kate Winslet was amazing. And that's it. Okay? All it is a girl going through her, like, teenage romance thing. You know she's gonna end up with the rich guy once he realizes he's about to lose her and cleans up his act. You know that's how it's gonna go down. There's no way she's gonna stick around with Jack when she realizes that, like, the best he can offer her is, like, a bohemian lifestyle, and all that fucking means is that they're gonna be hungry and smoking all the time.
I hate you so much.
It's not that good.
It's
And there was room for Jack on that fucking door.
Oh, okay. I'll concede.
You don't have to agree with me.
Literally, I can't get the words out because of how sort of mad I am. I will concede on the fact that there was room for them both on that door. And even if there wasn't room for them both on the door,
Jesus,
take turns. Really not that hard. But I hate you because I love this film. And I also hate you because I've written an article about this exact point. It was in an article I wrote entitled 5 Films That Actually Have Terrible, Terrible Morals. So, I want to be so mad at you, and I can't, and it really upsets me.
I just used your own points against you.
I'm uncomfortable now. But yes, okay.
What's your It's Not That Good?
This week, I really struggled with it this week, but this week, I'm going to have to say The Social Network.
Okay. I haven't seen it, so
have you not?
You're not going to get a lot of backlash from me,
okay.
No.
I think it's definitely a film you need.
I do like what's his face? The guy who actually plays Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, man.
Jesse Eisenberg.
I love Jesse Eisenberg. I think he's a great actor.
I like him.
But this film, it's not that good. People love it because of sort of I think it's because it's living history, and that's why people love it. It's because Facebook has now become such a massive part of all of our lives. But also, this film is horrible because of the fact that it is a film where you are sort of told to feel sorry for the protagonist, even though he's an absolute asshole. Like, Mark Zuckerberg is a dickhead. And yes, you can be like, oh, well, at least Mark, the actual real life Mark Zuckerberg, is trying to show, and redeem himself for everything that happened. And, but by not suing when they made this movie. And it's like, no, absolutely not. He was such a dickhead then, and you're not even showing the worst bits, and that's why he's kind of okay with you telling people about these bits that have gone down. Because... Yeah. But, like, he is such an influential and powerful human being, and also has just fucked us all with the Cambridge Analytica stuff, that it's very clear...
Oh, let's not.
Yeah, we're so close to the end of the podcast, we don't have to go on a tangent. We can just keep it...
We can't go on this tangent.
Not this tangent. He's very clearly not a good person. And so for him to allow this stuff to be in a film without him suing shows that this isn't even what he considers the worst parts of what he has done. And we're supposed to feel sorry for him because a girl broke up with him because he was a douche.
Yeah.
No. This film shows who Mark Zuckerberg is as a person, and we shouldn't idolize this film because it's living history. I mean, it has its place in history because it is. It's sort of... It's the story of where we are now with social media. Facebook was kind of, apart from MySpace, Facebook is the big one that sort of launched modern social media. And so this film is sort of an exhibition of that, which is really important. And it came out in a time when we were all sort of still living in the Facebook bubble. And so that, I'm not saying it's not important because it is, but it's just a bad film. It's too long. It exploits the emotions of people trying to make you feel sorry for, first of all, a billionaire. We should just never feel sorry for billionaires. And, it's just, no. And go watch it and see how you feel afterwards. But yeah, the music's good, I'll give you that, but it's too long. And, yeah.
I mean, this was essentially you had the same criticism of Wolf of Wall Street, really, where they keep trying to idolize this person who did a lot of really bad shit, and yeah, they're successful, but like the amount of people that they stepped on, and lives that they ruined to get there, like they don't deserve your sympathy or empathy. They certainly shouldn't be idolized.
Yeah, for reals.
And also, like, the number, like, can we just stop doing movies like this, where it's like, he's successful but controversial, but you should feel bad for him because he's successful, and you're like, I don't care.
Yeah, for reals. I think we are, and I think it's almost obligatory at this point, that we are gonna get a Jeff Bezos / Elon Musk film.
Ugh.
And I'm just so fucking tired.
God, do we have to?
Like, it's gonna happen.
No one cares, you guys.
It's gonna be this poor little kid from South Africa, from Pretoria, who's bullied, and then...
who got bullied,
and then made his millions with PayPal and whatever, and, like, his struggle with PayPal and sort of the lawsuits that happened there. And it's just like, fucking hell, yes, it's hard, but running a business is hard. Especially a successful business, like...
Yeah, and I was just thinking, so Humans of New York, I don't know if you follow them on Facebook and stuff. So Humans of New York, for those who don't know, he's a photographer who goes around and just takes photos of people and asks them, like, what are you thinking about at the moment? Or, like, what are you getting through? And you get these really poignant, like, glimpses into people's lives. And currently, the guy who does Brandon, I believe, Humans of New York, he's traveling through Africa.
Oh, really?
And he did a stint in Rwanda, so he interviewed people who sheltered a lot of people during the massacre and, like, saved lives during the massacre. And now he's actually in South Africa, so he's interviewing people in Joburg at the moment, and, like, interviewed this lady who was one of the first female pilots in South Africa.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's just like, this is the kind of shit that I actually want to see. Like, not just like, should feel bad for them because they're a minority and they did well, but just like people who actually had to, like, push through stuff and didn't have to step on people on the way there. Like,
yeah,
just, people who just cared a lot and did their fucking best and, like, it worked out for them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I'm just tired of, like, seeing stories about people who had every conceivable advantage in life and then had it work for them, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, that's what I think is so amazing about the Humans of New York thing, is because you do get an exploration into these normal people's lives, and normal people's lives are so interesting. That's the thing. Everyone you know is just going through something cool, and they don't have to be millionaires or, you know, invented a massive social media platform in order to be interesting.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, it's just being life.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah. So I agree with you, even though I haven't seen it.
And that's what friends are for.
Yeah.
Says the guy who told you to go fuck yourself not 20 minutes ago.
That's what friendship is, though.
So we did it, Simone. We got through.
We've done it.
We've done another great episode. So tell me, what's on the docket for next week? What are we watching next week?
I have been toying with doing this movie for a while. I can't believe we haven't done it yet. I'm gonna do Sucker Punch.
No ways! I have not thought about Sucker Punch in such a long time.
Right?
That's great. Oh my gosh, I'm actually excited to watch this film again.
Mm.
Like, it's been enough time that I've forgotten it.
Because it's one of those ones that should have been good and was so highly anticipated, and then people hated it. I think I kind of liked it when I watched it last, but I'm keen to watch it again with, like, a critical eye, but not too critical.
The only thing that sort of stands out for me from that film was just Bjork doing the soundtrack, because it was superb.
Ugh, the soundtrack was incredible.
Yeah, no doubt.
Still is, I guess.
So, my film is a complete 180 from yours, and I'm so excited that we're doing these two films together. For my film next week, we're going to be doing Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Yes! I haven't seen it yet, and I'm excited.
He is a gem, and the fact that we're doing these two films together makes me very, very happy.
I'm ready.
This is going to be a good week. I think next week is going to be a good week. I know we say that pretty much every week, but it's going to be a really good week.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's hippity hoppity happening in your life, friend?
Not a lot. My parents are down visiting at the moment, and so it's been really nice spending time with them and getting to, like, take my mom out for nice dinners and, like, get to take my dad to the pub. Really just play into gender stereotypes there. But also, I just always, like, realize, like, how lucky I am to have the parents that I have, and it's been nice.
That's lovely. Aw, what a nice, wholesome message.
Thank you. And how's your week going?
My week's been a rock star week. It's been sort of up in the air, and I've just been trying to catch up with uni work, so I've been up late most nights. And then I went to a brewery opening yesterday, which was really, really good fun. Sophie's brother took me out, and it was really good fun. There was, like, fire eaters and a brass band that played, like, modern music. But they did, like, mashups and things of modern music and made it into brass band. So it was really, really cool. I can't remember their name right now, but I'll try and get it and we can put it in the show notes. But yeah, it was a really good fun. So I am absolutely exhausted, and I'm very excited for a good night's sleep tonight. Because...
Oh, I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know this already, sleep is really good for you. And it kind of fixes all the problems in your life.
Yeah.
That's why...
If you're, like... just anxious and angry all the time, have a good night's sleep, dude.
Man. Yeah, why do you think hospitals have beds and not chairs?
Because some patients need to lie down.
No, it's so you can sleep all the time. That's the rule. If they see you awake in a hospital, I mean, that's the main job of a doctor. He comes around, he's like, he goes, hey, you're awake.
What are you doing?
Stop that. And then nurses come around and sing you to sleep. And that's how hospitals work. Yeah. Just in case you didn't know.
When were you last in a hospital yourself, Chad?
I was asleep, so I don't remember.
You go into hospital sleeping and you leave sleeping.
That's how I've never known. No, but to be fair, the last time I was in hospital was to get my wisdom teeth taken out, and they put me under general anesthetic, so I was asleep, technically.
God, I loved it. Like, the thing with me and anesthesia, right, is, like, it's so fun going under. Like, it just hits me like a train. And then I wake up, and I am so sick. I am the most vomity person.
Really?
In the world after general anesthesia. So, fun story. I had a knee operation.
Yeah.
As Rudy and I started dating.
Which is great. Fantastic.
So this sweet boy, who was only just started dating me, is in the hospital with me after my knee op, which he also didn't have to do, and he's watching me wake up, and I'm hungry because my op was at 2 p.m, so I couldn't eat anything from whole day or drink anything that whole day.
Yeah.
And they've given me the crumbliest cheese sandwich mankind has ever seen. So he's watching me go between falling asleep, waking up, trying to eat this crumbly cheese sandwich, failing, vomiting, and then just doing it all over again.
That's love. That's true love.
And he's still with me. That's how I know.
That's amazing. That's the story that you guys tell at your wedding.
Yeah. So anesthesia and I are not friends. I don't know how we got onto this tangent, but now everybody knows.
The tangents.
Oh
no! Where can the people find you?
The people can find me on Instagram. It's simone.le.rux. And they can follow us, our podcast, on the social media.
Yes.
It's Not That Bad 1, and It's Not That Bad Podcast. And they can email us at itsnotthatbad@gmail.com. Where can people find you?
Yeah. That you can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at chatsby1993, so that's CHADSBY 1993. You can also find me on Forge and Flint, which is our parent company, where both Simone and I write articles for, and you can also find some cool short stories and some bomb-ass poetry, as well as this podcast. So, yeah, and I mean, yeah, please write into us, tell us what you think, tell us where we're going wrong, tell us what you like about it, if there's any segments that you would you would want to see, and that would, for the love of God, please replace It's Not That Good. Because every week we struggle, guys. So if you do think of a segment...
Yeah, I think it might be time to just put that segment to bed and think of something else.
I mean, if you guys can think of anything else, let us know, and we'll switch it out. Yeah. And but yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for your continued support. We always appreciate it. And tell your parents, tell your frogs, tell your tiny contractual gremlins.
Yes.
And and I like that's where you were like, yes, tell those tiny contractual gremlins.
We want contractual gremlins.
It's a really horrible Jewish slur. I'm Jewish, so I can say that.
I can't now.
But yeah, please tell people to subscribe, like us. It really helps us try and get the word out that, life is actually pretty good, and, movies are always good. And yeah, as we say at the end of every episode,
we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Bye.